Now, this story came from this lady, and I'll give you the full flow of the story. But we've got others, and they follow a template. And we've seen the documentation. We've listened to recordings of telephone calls. And what we are seeing is a pattern of people's children being deliberately taken away. And I'll tell you what's happening to them next. They're going into a system of abuse. Either just ill treatment with carers, or they're going to a nastier type of abuse. And when people have the evidence to prove it is going on, you suddenly find, and I hope the police in the room are listening, that the police don't help the people reporting it, they intimidate them. And in South Wales, where I gave a talk simply on this subject, 3 witnesses came up on the stage with me and told how they were threatened by the local police to keep their mouths shut. If you were going to destroy a nation, it would be a very good wheeze to start destroying families. Because if you can't protect your children, if I can't protect my children, there's not a lot left. There is not a lot left worth fighting for. And what we are seeing across the country on a massive scale is children being taken away. The French lady, married to an Englishman, fought. She fought her way out of depression. She eventually got another high court case, and to her delight, the judge found in her favour and gave her custody of the 2 children and permission to take the girls back to France. She'd been living in France for about 6 months when there was a knock on the door and French social services appeared. And they said, we've just come to check on the girls, but we're going to ask you to take them into the local town, and you've got to have an audience with the judge, but it's all to see the girls are okay. And the mother said to me, I knew what was going to happen. So she took the girls, she had to, and the moment they stepped over the threshold into the judge's quarters, they were snatched from her, physically snatched from her. She was told she mustn't attempt to follow them. She now knows that they were then held in a children's home for a period of weeks, and then the French social services calmly handed them back to English social services, who calmly handed them back to the father, who by that time was working with other men to abuse children. And if you're sitting there thinking about your friend, if we're going to move forward and fight what's going on, you've got to deal with your friend. You've all got one. It goes like this. I've just been a bit nasty about the police and social services, but you're thinking, I've got a friend, Rita, and she works for social services, and she's a very nice lady. Brian Gerrish has been very horrible about politicians, but my friend, Sir Peter Watt, he is a wonderful, upstanding man. Now, we've got to be discerning, because I'm not saying to you every policeman is bad, far from it. But what we've got to do is we've got to learn where we've got to look to root the bad people out. Children, absolutely fundamental. The paper now has 3 injunctions to stop us telling the truth about children who have been unlawfully taken from their parents. And Plymouth City Council is so frightened of us that they put 2 injunctions to stop us reporting on a couple we've never reported on. Why are they so frightened? Is it going to go? Here's a judge, and he's talking about making the family courts open. Can you read it at the back? Or shall I read it? Right, this is from Sir Mark Potter, Britain's most senior family judge and president of the High Court Family Division. He told the Times that the judiciary had been split about whether to open up the family courts and that there was not a clear single view. However, he welcomed a move to greater openness by the judiciary, delivering public judgments subject to an anonymity. So what he's saying is, we're not going to let you see what goes on in the courts, but we're going to be really open about telling you what the decisions are. But inside the courts, social services are producing false reports. There's perjury being committed. There's barristers lying. There are judges clearly finding in favour of paedophiles. How can they do it? Because senior judges have made it a rule that you can't see inside the courts. So we've got a pretty serious situation. We've got ladies and men, and mums and dads and partners screaming with evidence what's happening to their children, and we can't get the facts out because we get gagged, and you can't get into the courts. Without putting a hand up for the people in the room who are experiencing this, am I telling the truth? Okay. We need to deal with these people. If this is the standard of our judiciary, and we have our judiciary working on the Constitution, and whether the EU is legal or not for us, we're not going to get anywhere, are we? We are seeing widespread corruption. We are seeing corrupt judges, corrupt barristers, corrupt solicitors, corrupt law firms. And so it's no wonder to me that when we take a case to the High Court to try and get us out of the European Union, it gets squashed. It's bound to get squashed because these people are bent. And we've got to start exposing them. We don't need violence. We just need to call them what they are, criminals. I'm not, of course, suggesting that Sir Mark Potter is one of those. But I'd like to ask him why he isn't dealing with the factual evidence which is showing just what is happening in the family courts. Will he come and see us and look at the evidence we've got? That's my challenge. All sorts of groups are trying things, and here's Fathers for Justice. Who's the lady? Is it Harriet Harman? I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't really care. She's another politician that they've handcuffed because they're so fed up that the politicians won't act. So let's have a look at these politicians. These are the ones who are destroying your lives. And yet their expenses, we don't want to make those open. Was there a debate in the House of Lords over the 900 billion being paid to the banks? Was there? You don't seem very sure. I don't think there was. I think Mr. Gordon Brown with his cronies behind closed doors voted the money out. But here's two of them, happily not married, both on a nice big fat MP salary, both making decisions. This is Balls, isn't it? Balls by name. And he's making decisions about families. He's a Bilderberger, I believe. I believe he travelled, allegedly, a couple of allegedlys in there, but I think I'm pretty accurate. He travelled to a Bilderberger meeting on public money, but he hasn't yet declared it properly. Here he is. Do you know where I got this wonderful slide from? I got it from his sort of World Faith site. If you haven't been there, go and see it. It's horrible. And just have a look at this man. His eyes, basically. If you look at this man's eyes, they are totally cold. He does not have a conscience. He doesn't mind how many soldiers have died. He doesn't mind about the children. He's not a human being, I don't think. But he was running the country, and then when he'd got it to a state of decay, he handed it over to Gordon Brown. We've got to do something about these people. We don't need violence. We just need to tell them that they don't have any more power. We're not interested in reading about Tony Blair. He's horrible. Did you vote for this man? So why is he there? Well, we haven't challenged it yet, have we? It's time we challenge. It's time every MP got a visit. Pardon? He was elected in Scotland. He wasn't elected in England. The important thing is to remember that he was helped into power by the communists. And if you look at the Labour Party and who's got a background in Trotskyism, Marxism, you will find there's a nest of them, and now they're doing interesting things with the bank. Or am I just suspicious?